babes. Okay, let me introduce myself to you all. Or better still, let me introduce our client of the day first. So this is my customer for today. She actually came with her baby. Here I was already done with the baby's hair. I was now starting her hair. Initially, I wanted to make like Fulani braids for her, but she said no, she doesn't want it to come to the front too much. So we ended up picking two steps braids for her. Here I was just patting the hair, like she kept on telling me, take it to the back, take it to the back. Here, the back of her hair was kind of short. I think she made all back, and then the all back actually chopped the back of her hair. So I used that little gel to like smoothing the whole thing and all. She doesn't even like gel on her hair, but I just had to do that so that I could catch the hair properly and it come and knit. So let's go back to my introduction. My name is Jennifer. I'm a hairstylist living in Life Camp, Abuja, Nigeria. So my brand name is Jay's Handmark. How did I come about that brand name? So I grew up in the barracks, and if I've ever stayed or even visited the barrack, you know that we are like a very little family. Probably we know all ourselves and everything. And if you stayed or grew up in the barrack, you will know that you are likely to meet the people you grew up with like 7 times in your lifetime, as long as it's within the same barracks. Okay, so back to the story. In 2019, that was when I finished secondary school. So while I was in SS3, I already knew I was not going to further my education because my aunt had already told me SS2 that, oh, there's no money for me to further my education for now. So I would have to either not. I sure had options, but all the options were not to go to university or so all I was going to do in secondary school was to pass my WAEC, and hopefully I did. Thank God. Back to the story. So after my secondary school, I I started working as a sales rep in a shop in Mami Market, and then I was braiding. I've always been braiding. That would be a story for another day. But I started braiding officially like for money in 2019. So while I was selling in that shop, I was braiding at the shop's veranda. So there was this soldier that they transferred to Abuja. She just came in. I think she told me she just came in that week. So she saw me braiding at the veranda and she liked the hair so much. And she was like, oh, she wants to come and make her hair and all. So I made her hair that once. I kept making her hair for the time that she was in Abuja. So I think she went on a course in Kaduna and I never saw her again. Apparently she was posted to headquarters. So after then, I made another person's hair that was working in headquarters but was living in the same barrack as I was living. She went to the headquarters and then she called me. She didn't call me. She came back to make her next hair and she was telling me, did you know that when I went to the office that day, someone saw me and the lady approached me and asked that, is it Jennifer that made your hair? That I was really shocked. And then she said yes. So from there, I was like, I think it's time for me to give my brand a name. Still, I didn't know the name to give my brand as of that time. Then I had a copper that came from, she schooled in Ghana and she came to serve in Nigeria. So each time she passed, she would be like, oh, I wish I can sit down and make my hair. She would pass, she would say, oh, this hair is fine. Mind you, remember I told you I was plating on the veranda of the shop I was doing sales girl for. So this copper came, I made her hair, she brought her friend the next time and all. I just started making the copper set and she would always be like, man, it was that copper that made me to make my first knotless braid. She literally downloaded the video from YouTube for me, showed me, and I made my first knotless braid in that 2019. So she was like, man, your hand is a mark. Like, I was like, whoa. That was from where I decided to name my brand Jay's Handmark. That was how my name came about. And I've been braiding since 2019. In 2022, I wanted to change my trade. I felt like braiding was something I didn't learn, and it was stressing me too much. It was mentally, I don't 2022 was just not that year for me. So I wanted to navigate from braiding to fashion designing, till one day I was telling my godmother about this in 2022, and she laughed. She was like, don't do it. I was still going to do it, but then time passed, things happened, and I could not even raise money for the fashion designing thing, and I left it. Then fast forward to 2024, I was still telling her about this thing, and she was like, for a gift that God gave you, you didn't even learn and everything. You think God was not aware of everything that would happen in your life He gave you and everything. So she just advised me and told me that, oh, this is what you do, this is what you're going to do, and everything. So that was how I found myself stuck in hairstyling, and life actually continued happening and everything. Along this journey, I discovered like I discovered my strengths, I discovered my weaknesses, I discovered a lot. Like there is so much for us to talk about. Maybe we'll just talk about that in another part of this video. So in this video, I was almost done here. I was just coiling the hair. See, I was done. Like I loved the length of these braids so